have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello, happy Monday. I hope that you are faring through this pandemic and quarantine as well as you possibly can, that you are staying healthy, and that your family is as well. I know that this is a crazy time, and hopefully with this extra time to stay home, you are able to get some positive inputs, and I'm hoping that this is one of them. Today I am sharing my interview with Luciana Garcia, who was living in South America and decided, even though she was tone deaf and rhythm blind, which you'll learn more about, that she was going to move to Los Angeles to start a singing career, which I think is incredibly brave and just sounds like kind of a crazy thing. So I invite you to listen. She has such a great spirit, and I think you're really going to find this a wonderful episode. Without further ado, here is my chat with Luciana Garcia. Hello, everyone. Today I am chatting with Luciana Garcia. Welcome to the show, Luciana.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm so excited to chat with you today. So, of course, you know that the show is called Bold Moves. You wouldn't be sitting here talking with me if you hadn't made some. So I would love to hear a bit about you, your story, some of the risks that you've taken along the way.
Okay. I'm a singer. I am a rock singer. I'm from Chile, and I am based in LA, California. When I decided I wanted to live across the world and pursue a music career, I was tone deaf and rhythm blind at the same time.
Goodness.
Yeah, so I had no musical talent. And I just had never been around musicians in the family or anything. And at age 15, I kind of fell into a choir class. It was like my third choice of elective. And that's when I discovered I loved singing, but I was really bad at it, like really bad at it.
All right.
That's not me trying to be fake humble. I am serious. I was terrible. Yeah. When people go to like concerts, the way I explain what rhythm blind is, when people go to concerts, everyone can clap along, right? I never understood how people could clap at the same time because I had no perception of rhythm. That's how bad, yeah. And tone deaf and just, yeah, no talent. But I loved it. I felt like I found this like light in me. And I as a kid, I had so many mental health issues and just such a hard time all the time. Due to like a bunch of family stuff and then what the repercussions of that meant for me. So I found music. Like it was like mind-blowing that I was just happy doing something.
Okay.
And then because I was not naturally good at it and I hadn't been singing since I was a kid or anything, everyone was like, you better, like you're a good writer, you're a good you're good at math, like
keep your day job, basically.
Definitely, yes. And because I was a teenager just finding myself, I just listened. I tried to suppress my love for music. And at age 18, I found myself very depressed, had full-blown, like, developed a binge eating disorder and very overweight. And it was just, I was in a very, very bad place.
Okay.
And I felt like a light in me, like a little inner power I always had despite having such a tough time, had been turned off.
Okay.
And I was in this coffee shop and I was eating like so many pastries at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they were good though. I enjoyed them. And this woman was reading the newspaper and it had like, she was looking at like movie times in the newspaper. And she asked me to read the movie time for her because it was too small.
Yeah.
And she was like 90 something. I think she said 93. We started talking and just about life and had a very great conversation where she told me mostly about her life and her experience. And she said something that to me was life-changing. She said, if I die tomorrow, I'm okay. And she had this peace about her.
Wow, that sounds
And
amazing.
yeah, and that's when I realized I'm not in the path to feel that way when I'm at that point in my life, because I'm listening to other people and not to myself. There's nothing wrong with listening to advice, right? And getting help from people around you that have the best intentions in mind, but I wasn't listening to myself. I was suppressing all my urges to sing. So that night, in like 60 seconds, I developed this plan. Um, and I was like, okay, I'm going to graduate high school. I'm going to take a gap year. I'm going to learn how to sing.
Okay, and how old were you at this point?
18.
18, okay.
Yes, about to graduate. And and then I'm going to apply to music school in the US because it's going to take many years of learning to be like okay as a singer.
Yeah,
Um, and I want to go to the US because I feel like there I have the opportunities to really create a movement through my music. I want to help as many people as possible, and I really want to have the opportunities that Southern California gives. So there we are.
all right. So how long have you been
That's
in
what we did.
LA?
3 years.
Okay, and are you in school still, or have you finished school?
Yes.
Where are you
Yes.
studying?
I'm studying in Musicians Institute, getting my bachelor's degree in vocal music.
Okay, awesome.
Singing.
And I'm sure everybody listening is wanting to know where they can hear you sing. So do you have your music online anywhere?
Yes, it's on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your music. I'll just look up my name. I'll be there.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes. Um,
Yay!
did you keep in touch with this woman that you met in the cafe at all, or did she just change your life and you never saw her again?
She just changed my life and I never saw her again.
That's awesome. What a
Yeah,
cool interaction. Who would think
I
that
know.
you
I
would just
know.
be eating pastries and then the whole course of your life changed?
I
I love it.
know. It was amazing.
So you mentioned about how like your family kind of gave you advice and so on. Are they more supportive now? Because of course they were probably trying to protect you when they're like, okay, you're tone deaf and rhythm blind and maybe this isn't the best choice. Have
Yeah.
they come around, or are they still kind of have a backup plan? Or
No, they've mostly come around because when I decided to come to the US at age 18, and I was
Mhm.
like, this is what I'm gonna do. Most of my family members were like, but then they saw all my life get organized.
Okay,
And me for the first time working towards a purpose, choosing healthy habits, and and just working very hard for this, and very motivated, and they'd never seen me like this before.
sure,
So they were also hesitant to step on it because, in the end, they just wanted me to do well and be happy.
sure.
So they were concerned that I sounded horrible, but at the same time they saw me happy and
Yeah,
with a purpose, right? So they mostly just didn't say anything for until I moved to LA,
hmm,
and I succeeded. Like that was a success. That operation of moving and starting school and continuing this music thing in
sure.
the opposite side of the world. When they realized that that was what I was meant to do,
Hmm.
now they're supportive, right? So there was a
Okay,
period where they were like just not
we'll just let her
like
do it and see how it goes.
exactly.
Okay.
Hmm.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, you mentioned purpose and you also mentioned that you wanted to start a movement with your music and help as many people as possible. How do you define your purpose and how do you plan on doing exactly that with your music?
My purpose is to build a movement of love and acceptance
Okay.
where everyone who attends a live show or tunes into my music feels like it's their safe heaven, a little bit of a safe heaven, right?
Sure.
And they can be and do and exist as they are without any judgment, as long as they don't harm anybody around them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to create that space in my fan base. And yeah, I think my purpose is just to make people happy and make people find their purpose, because once you find what you want to do, like, everything just fits into one little goal, and life gets better. So my purpose is to shine a light on as many on the purpose of as many people as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to do that through music.
I love that. So it's very similar kind of to my podcast, but just your own avenue. That's very
Hmm.
cool. You mentioned that, prior to discovering your love for music and going down this path of really pursuing it and going to school and moving and all of that, that you were in a rough place mentally and physically, both with your mental health. And then you said you were overweight and binge eating. I'm wondering how you kind of transformed that, because I'm looking at you now, you're stunning. You look like you're in shape. And I'm assuming that since your family's like not so worried about you anymore, that you're probably doing better mentally. How did that transformation kind of occur? Was there therapy? Was it just that you found what you needed to be doing and that motivated you to make changes? A combination of both? I'd love to hear how that went.
So from ages like 6 to 8,
Mm-hmm.
my entire world came down. My parents got divorced. I started being bullied in school. Um, and it was just many people in my life left, and so I developed this anger and this fear against the world.
Okay.
And that just continued until I was, for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I became a very tough kid, because I was so angry, not all the time, but I feel like the way, when I remember right now, it was like I was an exciting, like, charismatic kid,
Mm-hmm.
and this anger would just possess me.
Sure.
And I felt, when I wasn't like possessed by it, I felt so guilty, because I genuinely just wanted to be okay,
Yeah.
And I would get these horrible outbursts and just yell very loudly and curse at everyone around me, and it was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I started facing the rejection from the world. And that was very tough. Like, at first I was 6 or like 9, and then 9. So I didn't know that it was because of my outbursts that people didn't want to be around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be the only kid that wasn't invited to the birthday party. And, my mom got uninvited to all these things because she had to bring me. And she was a single mom because my dad left temporarily. We love each other and we have a great relationship today, thankfully.
That's good.
So when that happened, when I became like such a tough person to be around, my mom put me in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And this therapist told her, your kid is one of those kids that when she's 17, she's going to have had like 3 suicide attempts. If she's still alive, and she's going to be in mental hospitals all the time. And then that psychiatrist also told her, treat this as if your kid was missing an arm. Like, her personality is like a disability.
Wow.
And my mom says, like, although that's very not the right way to put it and everything.
Yeah, it's hard.
It helped. Yeah. But it helped my mom to see, like, I have to get her to therapy. Like,
okay,
it's
just to prioritize it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I have been in therapy since I was 7, I think, until I moved to LA.
Mm-hmm.
So until I was just turned 19.
Okay.
And so, and that was great. That gave me so many tools,
I'm sure,
to deal with my own things later on, like in LA.
Mm-hmm.
The change in how I take care of myself started happening, I think, already living alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't, like, the binge eating disorder is something I'm just now getting over. what happened was about a year or two ago, I dropped the weight. I started doing tapping, like emotional, I don't know,
EFT?
EFT, yes.
Yeah.
And I was doing that to eat more healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked. And so I
Wow.
lost the weight, but then my brain was still, I still had the binge eating disorder in me.
Mm-hmm.
So now, instead of being very concerned about eating a family pack of Oreos
Yeah.
in one sitting, I'm just as concerned and just as stressed as eating 20 almonds.
Okay.
It makes no sense when you say it, but in my head, that's how it worked. I was like,
Sure.
oh my God, I'm going to be fat because I ate all this fat. And it was the same thing.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, I realized that. And I was like, wow, okay. And that's when I shifted. Okay, my goal is not to be skinny and have a perfect body anymore. My
Right.
goal is to be free from this.
Okay.
And
It's
I
an interesting
started,
perspective shift.
yeah, and it's been so helpful because right now, every time I catch it creeping up, I'm like, I don't have to be skinny anymore. Like,
Right.
I just have to be healthy, and I want to be free. Because the binge eating disorder only works if the ultimate goal is to be like skinny and have a perfect body.
Right.
Which, what is a perfect body anyway? Like,
Right. Absolutely.
yeah. So that's still a work in progress, I'll admit. But I definitely, it's night and day in how I treat my skin, how I treat myself, and
Mm-hmm.
how I prioritize my well-being in choosing how I choose friendships and choose
Yeah.
the people I surround myself with. It's not who accepts me anymore. Because I was such a tough kid as a teenager. I would just like welcome whoever accepted me,
Sure.
and having that low bar of who I surrounded myself with led to some very tough friendships,
I'm
because
sure.
I would just give and be like, oh, she accepts me, so like I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so now, as what has helped me the most, I'd say, is knowing my purpose and having a north at all times, and presence. This moment.
Yeah.
Like, there's if you don't, like, all of everyone's anxieties and worries depend on the future and the past.
Right.
You're either
Yeah.
worried about something you did, you're worried about what's going to happen. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're just here in this moment right now, what is there to worry about?
That's really profound and really
Yeah,
true when you stop and think about it. Thank you for sharing that. And
of
thank you
course.
for being so vulnerable and sharing all of your story, because I think there's a lot of stigma around a few of the things that you mentioned, and there really shouldn't be. And I think if we all just opened up and talked about it, we'd probably all be in a lot better place than we are
Yeah.
now. I'm curious because I feel like your mindset is really healthy, and I lived in LA for a couple years. And when I first moved there, it was really hard for me looking at all of the people who have what appears to be like the perfect physique or the perfect face. And it's just kind of I think, unhealthy place sometimes mentality wise around image. How do you feel like, because I feel like most people don't go to LA and improve that mindset. So how do you feel like you did that? And how do you feel like the environment of being in LA impacts this journey of yours that you're on?
Well, in the image thing, what helped me a lot about LA is that, yes, there's a lot. Oh my God, the amount of beautiful, like standard beautiful people
Right.
in LA, like, it's a very large percentage.
Yeah.
So yes, it can definitely be intimidating, and it definitely pushes your ego to be like, oh, now we have to have a six pack, and like, come on, get to work.
Yeah.
However, in LA, unlike Santiago, where I'm from, people don't tell you, hey, you're gaining a little weight, like, take
Oh,
care of that,
okay. Yeah, I've
right?
heard that in like Latino cultures that it's very common to just be open and kind of share that criticism with people.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And every
Families.
time, Yeah. And even when now that I've lost a bunch of weight, I haven't weighed myself in a long time, but I can see it.
Hmm.
And when I'm in school and everything, nobody has told me anything
Right.
except some Chilean friends back in LA.
Yeah,
But they mean it in the best way.
sure.
Um, but yeah, when I come back home, it's like, oh, good for you, you're looking good. And so it's hard to detach from wanting to be skinny when you get this positive feedback too. That's another thing.
Sure.
But yeah, no, honestly, LA, I think the US culture in general, everyone's a lot more to themselves than
Hmm.
in Chilean culture. And I find that that is a little challenging to make good friends.
Hmm.
However, if people mind their own business about my body, oh my God, it helps me feel free. It
Okay.
definitely helps me feel free, and I don't feel like I felt when I was sometimes in Chile when I was gaining weight. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna see this new auntie that I haven't
Yeah.
seen in 6 months, and I've gained so much weight, and she's gonna make a comment, and I was dreading having tea with my auntie
Sure.
just because of that comment. And in LA, like you don't experience that
Right.
really. I mean, that's just my experience. I'm sure there's different. Depends on who you surround yourself with too.
Sure.
But yeah, I mostly LA is this. I see it as the city of infinite possibilities.
Hmm.
There's everything of a lot of everything.
Yeah,
So it
absolutely.
is what you make of it, right?
Hmm.
You can surround yourself with judgmental people that will like
Right.
push you to be perfect, physically perfect, which I don't even think is a thing anymore.
Right.
Or you could surround yourself with supporting, loving friends that will bring you up, right?
Hmm.
And bring you give you the freedom to create who you want to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So so yeah, that's what I like about LA. It's like an open, like an empty canvas.
Right. Whatever I always say, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. So
Yes,
like whatever you're
exactly.
focused on, that's what you'll find, especially in
Exactly. It,
LA.
yes, that's perfect.
So I'm curious through all of this journey, there's so many different things that could be in and of themselves a bold move that could be your only one, but you have several of them. Through all of this, whether it's what you went through as a child, moving to a new country, pursuing a career that you weren't naturally gifted at to start out, or something that you haven't even shared, I'm wondering what is the scariest thing that you've done or been through?
Mm. The scariest thing I have done is perform at my first show.
Okay.
Like my first show with my songs, with a band I put together, a show I booked, like
Yeah.
not just a performance in school. That to me was terrifying. And all my friends who were great musicians and I was still working at it were
Yeah.
there supporting, and I was so scared. Um, I don't think I enjoyed performing until my second or third show. Third show.
Okay.
The third
Okay.
one, I was like, I enjoy this. So that's the scariest thing I've had to like step into. Just because, in scary, not in that it was a good kind of scary though, but
Right.
because you want to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I felt very vulnerable. I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't, surprisingly, I wasn't scared of many things that when I talk about them, people are like, wow, you did that. Just because when you're making the right choice and you
Hmm.
know it like to the last cell of your being knows it, then there's no fear. I
Hmm.
didn't feel fear when I was moving to LA in a big city I'd never been to.
Right.
I didn't feel any fear when I was going into school. I think I did feel fear in the that first show because I wasn't prepared. And
Okay.
it was not because I didn't practice, but because
Right.
as a singer, I wasn't proficient enough to
Hmm.
perform my own show yet. I think I am now, and that's why I enjoy shows so much. They're the favorite part of my career
Yeah.
um, to me. And but at the time, I think I had to go through that to understand. Okay, this is not where I'm at yet.
Yeah.
The show was not good.
Okay.
But, people enjoyed it. I learned a lot from it, made some great contacts, like whatever. I
Hmm.
have no regrets about it. But I think that's why I was scared, because it was not the right move.
Yeah.
But the scariest moves, I don't really think I felt any fear or insecurity about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, if
Hmm.
you had to give advice to somebody who is contemplating something that they're afraid of doing, whether it's like your first show and they're having some, doubts about it, what advice would you give to push past that fear?
Stop for a minute, take 3 deep breaths, and let your own gut tell you, is this the right move to take?
Oh, I
And
like that.
if your gut says yes, then it is.
That seems
And
reasonable.
yeah, yeah. Or something I do when I'm I call a family member or a friend, and I do this myself a lot too when I have
Hmm.
to make a choice and I'm not so sure. I put myself in both scenarios, right? So let's say I have to choose between well, right now I had to choose between choose enrolling in online classes
Hmm.
or not and taking the quarter off.
Hmm.
So I stopped, I took some breaths, and I pictured myself in
Hmm.
online classes and learning from them and taking notes and everything. And I felt good. I felt like I could do it, and it was
Hmm.
like the right, I eased through that visioning.
Okay.
And then I went back and I pictured myself emailing the registrar of my school
Hmm.
saying, "No, hi, can you email me the form to take a leave of absence for this quarter?"
Hmm.
Which is not just to not take any classes this quarter.
Sure.
And I was like, "Ugh, but I'm gonna have to wait until July to graduate, and it's like this whole thing." And I just started worrying.
Hmm.
And that's just my gut telling me I have to take the classes,
I like that.
you
That's a
know?
really great exercise, that visualization.
Yeah, yeah. Visualize yourself in both scenarios when you have, or as many scenarios as you have for
Sure.
a choice, and just see what feels better. What
Yeah.
feels better, not what you can excuse yourself to be better.
Sure.
Because our mind will start making excuses immediately. The
Yeah.
moment you start like at least the way my whole thing works is like gut feeling, and then my mind just painting a pretty picture on top of it.
Sure. That makes
So
sense to me.
yeah,
That's great advice. Thank you. And I feel like
of
you've
course.
given a lot of good advice throughout the conversation, just naturally. But in case you have more that you want to share that you haven't had the chance to, or like a recent lesson you've learned, or perhaps some of the tools that you learned in therapy that have been
Yeah.
helpful lately, what other advice do you have to share for our listeners or viewers?
One big thing I learned, um, I would like to emphasize, because I feel like so many of us have so many body image issues.
Hmm.
And I would like to emphasize that the goal is not to fix the problem that your ego has found in your body.
Hmm.
The goal is to be free from it and do the emotional and spiritual, or whatever you want to call it, work. Do the inner work
Hmm.
to set yourself free, because I a little breakthrough I had as I was writing a song was, you know, beauty. I really believe beauty, physical beauty, is meant to be free for everybody. and different for everybody. What's beautiful to me, like physically beautiful or physically attractive in a man, to me, might be completely different from what this other person that's into men finds attractive.
Sure. And thank
And I
goodness, or else we'd all want the same guy and be disappointed.
exactly. I feel like, and as humans, our free will is part of our nature.
Mm-hmm.
And today's media industry and our own perceptions, and our own, in collectively and individually, have tried to standardize what physical beauty is.
Mm-hmm.
And that just creates such dysfunction because it's taking away our free will to choose what physical beauty is.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say another little piece of advice in that regard is see that. See yourself being like see yourself when you judge a little bit to somebody for wearing like this horrible shirt. When you judge a little bit for that horrible, how did they cut their hair that way? Like, see yourself and how you contribute or heal from that.
I love that.
Because I think it's important that we are all free to choose what's beautiful for us.
That's a
And what
really
else?
empowering perspective shift. I really like
You
that.
know, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. Something else is I find that the only thing everyone in this earth has to do is find their purpose and pursue it and accomplish it and share it with the world. So find your purpose if you haven't already and share it with the world. And when if your purpose is, I don't know, I want to be a engineer and work for this company, how does that serve other people? If you're always looking to what you can get out of a situation, I can get more followers on social media, or in this particular example, I want to get this job because it pays well, rather than because I want to share my engineer abilities with the world, or I want to make this change for this group of people through this company. If you look at it from what you can get, it's always going to be hard. It's a very lonely road, and you're just not happy in fulfilling your purpose, which is what's meant to make you the happiest. So always, once you find your purpose, figure out how you can serve through it, how you can serve the world, the people around you, the planet, whatever it is. And yeah, I think that's the key to a happy, successful, fulfilled heart.
I love that. And I feel like that makes the journey more enjoyable as opposed to just looking at the destination and
Definitely.
like, I'm not there yet. Well, what are you doing along the way, or who are you helping along the way? So that's a really
Exactly.
lovely idea. Thank you for sharing that. So
Of
you've
course.
mentioned that a huge priority to you, or what you think everyone's priority should be, is finding their purpose and fulfilling it. Do you have any tips on how people who feel like they wake up and have no idea what their purpose is, what they should do to figure that out?
Um, this is a little bit spiritual and but bear with me.
Sure.
Um, whatever higher power of your own understanding you believe in,
Mhm.
God, gods, the universe, love, whatever. And if you don't even believe in a higher power, just write a letter to love. Dear
Mhm.
love, I want to find my purpose. Just write it. Like, I want to find my purpose. I want to know what I'm meant to do.
Mhm.
What what is going to make me the happiest, and what is going to make the people around me the happiest? How can I help?
Mhm.
Show me. And then listen to what happens after that. Listen in the song that's playing in the background. Listen in that whatever somebody tells you. Like, hey,
Mhm.
somebody, like I was told by this woman, her name was Luna.
Mhm.
She was like, you have you have to follow your dreams, and like,
Yeah.
and so the message might not come in like this meditation and this like weird voice, in your head.
Hmm.
It might come as intuition. It might come in like a social media ad, but just be aware, like really look for it. Look for the
Sure.
response to that letter, because it will come. So yeah, that's how I would find my purpose if I hadn't yet.
I love it. That's beautiful. I'm curious, you mentioned social media ads, and I know you're in school, so I'm guessing that you do some reading. And since you're giving advice and recommendations, I would love any book recommendations that you might have in case somebody's listening and wants to read what you've liked reading.
I really enjoyed recently The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by
Okay.
Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
I if you already have your purpose
Hmm.
and what you want to do, Think and Grow Rich is a great book.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, that I think those are my two big
Those are your
recommendations.
top
Yeah.
two. Okay, cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I know you said that your music can be found on Spotify or wherever you listen to music if you look for your name. I'm assuming, well, I know that you're on Instagram, but where else are you online in case people want more Luciana?
I am on YouTube. I have some cool music videos out.
Okay.
Mostly the way to reach out to me directly is probably Instagram or email
Okay.
through Instagram too.
Sure.
My website has like all my music, and so does Spotify. I have some playlists where on my Spotify profile, where
Mhm.
I just compiled some really cool rock by women.
Okay.
Definitely check that out. I love listening to my own playlist. I'm not even in them. I'm not even in one of them, but I love it. And yeah, that's pretty much the way to find me online. I'd say the social media platform I'm the most active on is Instagram. My Instagram stories are always the truth. Like sometimes I'm just
Okay.
like, I had it with today. Come like, and I ignore everything I just said in the past few minutes, and I'm like, everything sucks. Sorry. Um, so
We all
and
have those
sometimes,
days or moments.
yeah, yeah. Um, and sometimes, most of the time, I'm like, hey guys, just wishing you like a good day or something. I'd say the most genuine, direct way I express myself in social media is Instagram stories.
Okay.
So yeah,
All
reach
right.
out, say hi.
Fantastic. So I've saved my favorite question for last, and
Okay.
it is it's interesting because this was apparently a tough time in your life, but if 8-year-old Luciana had a crystal ball and could see the whole journey, so the 12 years of therapy, moving to the US, your singing career so far, and then I usually say like the foreseeable future, but right now we're in such a crazy time with this
Yeah.
quarantine that no one really knows what's going to happen in the next
Yeah.
couple months. But if you have plans for a few months from now that are still able to happen, I think graduation is approaching for you. So all of that stuff on a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little Luciana be to see that whole journey and what's ahead?
Oh, she would be like, I have to wait 12 years to be happy. Ah, I
Aw.
can see her. I can see her being a little frustrated for the wait, but I can definitely. I make her. She'd be proud of me today. I think she'd be proud.
I'm
She'd
sure,
be like,
especially since
okay,
you didn't have a bunch of musical skills then. So she'd probably be a little
yeah,
surprised that
yeah.
this is your career.
She'd probably be like, I better get into music right now so I don't have
Get a head
any
start.
problems. Yeah, she'd
I
probably get a
love
head
it.
start.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking this time to chat with me and share your story. It's so wonderful
Sure.
since we've been following each other for a while on Instagram to, have more interaction like this sort of quasi face to face. And I hope
Yes.
to someday check out one of your shows and maybe next time I'm in
Yay.
LA meet up or something would be fun.
Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me, Mandy. I really appreciate you and this podcast and all the amazing people you interview. I love it.
All right, so I can't imagine moving from Chile to Los Angeles and all of the different cultural experiences that had to be on top of just the bold career choice of something that you're passionate about, even though you may not have natural talents. And I think it's so great that she's sharing her gifts with the world. And one of those gifts is this amazing story. So if you liked it, I would love if you shared it so that other people can be inspired by Luciana and her warm energy. I would love it if you also subscribed so that you don't miss an episode. And then, of course, if you could leave a great review on Apple Podcasts, I would really appreciate that as well. If you're interested in hearing or seeing Luciana perform, of course, her info is all in the show notes. You can find her there. And I would love it if you gave her some love and checked out her music. I also would love it if you would keep yourself healthy and happy. Thank you so much for listening. As always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.